Well, welcome back to my studio. Today I'm working on a new commission. I showed you the entire image sketched up on my canvas at the very beginning of this video. And now I'm going to start blocking in my trumpet vine here up at the top. I'm using mixtures. I paint my flower color first. Here I'm using mixtures of, let's see, I've got a alizarin crimson plus white. I've got alizarin crimson plus cadmium orange. I've got some cadmium red light plus alizarin crimson. Just have several different colors in here. I want a little bit darker of red. I'm going to add a little more. This is just alizarin crimson with just a very little touch of white in it. This trumpet vine is going to range from reds to oranges. I've got just all kinds of mix. I just want a mishmash of color up here. And then I'll come back in and add my greens around it. This is just, I do again, the flowers first and the leaves last. And that's because when I want my rich color on first, because when I come back and paint the green, then I can paint the green around my reds and my bright colors. If I painted the green first and then tried to come back with the reds and my bright color, my brush would pick up some of that green and it would muddy my flowers. So this way I get my flower color in first, then I'll come back and do my greens. I'm also going to have some trumpet vine down here, kind of in between these vigas. And the vigas are a southwestern, this is in Santa Fe, and vigas are a southwestern architectural element that they're beams that come sticking out of the adobe walls. And they're really a fun element to work with in paintings. And this is going to some people that live in Montana. They also have a winter home in Scottsdale, so they like that southwestern touch. And you see this in Scottsdale too. It's just very southwest. So I'm going to work around those vigas. The trumpet vine is going to be kind of dangling in between those vigas down there on that side of the painting. Now I'm going to come back in and start putting some of my green in. And this is a mixture, let's see, I'm using mixtures of sap green plus white, and I'm going to use some phthalo blue plus white, and I'm also here, I'm just using some pure sap green with some liquid for my darker greens. Now I want my building to show here, because this stair step of the architecture, I want to show some of that, so I'm not covering that over. As you can see, I'm using a fairly large brush. This is a bright brush. It's a square brush. I like it because I can get a nice flat stroke, cover a lot of area, or with the corner of the brush, I can make smaller strokes. Well, I told you I wasn't going to cover that building, and then I go back and cover it. Look at that. Mickey. Okay, I want to come here. What I can do is just take a brush dipped in thinner. I can just come back. In fact, better yet, I'm going to take some of my adobe color. I've already got mixed up, and this, I'm just going to put this here so I'll know. And this is mixtures of mud, which is alizarin crimson plus ultramarine blue. And I've mixed in some cadmium orange and white, and that's my adobe color. My sunlight is coming in from the left, so this will be light up here. It's that top of that stair step. Go ahead and put this other one in so I know. The sunlight's hitting that more directly. I'm going to even make a little lighter mixture, mix a little bit more white into this. So this comes like so. You get that stair-step feel. Now let's go back to start painting our greens. I just scumble a bunch of color up there. I'll come back and refine this, but I want to get my canvas covered. And then I can come back in and add details. The sap green makes a nice warm green. Then I add this phthalo blue plus white. Just gives me some coolness in my foliage, because in the depths of the foliage it gets cooler. The color is cooler. And so that phthalo blue gives us a little color, a little cooler color. Just kind of mixing some little lighter mixes here. I want this to be a warm green. Around all that orange and stuff, that just is a good combination with my orange. But you can see as I'm painting that green, see how some of that red picks up on my brush? That's fine as I'm painting the green because it muddies the green. But if I had painted my green first and then came back and pulled up that green into the red, then my red would not be a nice, bright, crisp red. As Jack would say, there's method to my madness. Now my tape is not sticking real well on my canvas. My canvases are framed in a white frame and directly applied to the canvas. It's a real heavy body acrylic that we get out of England. And I put tape over that to protect it as I'm painting so it stays nice and clean, but my tape is not sticking down. So I'm having to make sure I paint from the tape in so I don't get any paint on that canvas, on that frame. Now I'm going to start painting some of my adobe wall in here. I wanted to look this side, because the sun is coming from the upper left, this top edge is going to be lighter. This is still going to be in light on the side, but it's a little bit darker. Look around that. I've made that beam too thick, so I'm going to come back in and make that. I just kind of want to get this covered around where my flowers are going to be. Technically, I probably should have painted my wall first and then paint the flowers over it, but it'll work. Doesn't matter if a little bit of that flower color pulls into the wall color, because the object casting the shadow influences the color of the shadow. So there will be a little warmth into that shadow from those orange flowers. So that doesn't mind, I don't mind some of that color coming off. And this is going to be in shadow here. The chili peppers will also, there'll be some red from the chili peppers into the shadow that they cast, but I'm not bothering about that right now. I clean my brush quite a bit. This keeps the color on your canvas very clean. These are shadows casting down from that trumpet vine. Make a little bit of a edge here. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and scrape those flowers off. You can do this with oil painting. I can come back in and put some flowers in there, but right now I want to get that wall in there. It picks up a little bit of that red-orange, but that's okay. this is lighter up here, or that wall, or the top edge of that rounded adobe. Okay, I'm going to get this under here just a little bit more shadow in here. My trunks will come up there, but again, I'm not going to worry about those right now. I'm going to come back and start adding some flowers, some highlights on these flowers. You can see I'm coming back over this, but I'm just laying the paint gently over that other color so that I don't pick up that color on my brush. You can see I'm going to lay this over the green, and you can see how it picks up the green, so I have to keep watching, cleaning my brush. I have to watch and make sure that I don't get those flowers all muddy. But I can just lay that color on top, gives me lots of texture and keeps the color clean. But again, you can see how I do this. I just lay the paint on top. Sometimes it takes a little bit for it to catch. That gives you texture and that keeps your color clean. Now these flowers over here are they're not hit directly by the sun, so they're not quite as bright. This coming over here is really getting popped with the sun. So these are bright. This is pure cadmium orange. And this is cadmium orange plus cadmium red light. I just want my flowers to have lots of texture so that when this painting is done and dry, you can just run your hand, you'll be able to run your hand over and feel those flowers. Come back in and add a few leaves in here. Now the wall, I'm just going ahead again and painting this here. I'm adding a few little strokes of ultramarine blue plus white. Just kind of cools this shadow behind the trumpet vine. I'm kind of painting around where my trunks are going to go. The trunks I'm going to make Jack would have got me on that one. I'm going to make this is a mixture of mud plus liquid. Now I've kind of worked around my initial sketch, and I just pull that into the wet paint. I'm not going to do the whole trunks right now, but just this right in this area so you can kind of see how I do that. And then I'll come back and I'll work the color back around them. Work a little bit around those chili peppers on that string of chili ristra. But I want to get my trunk in here because some of my dangly vines are going to come down in front of it. So kind of get that started in there. I'll let the trunk go up into the flowers. This one goes under that one. I love these vine trunks. They kind of twist around each other and in and out. Okay, let's bring some of these flowers then down over some are going back in behind the trunk, and I'll make those darker. This is my just alizarin crimson plus a tiny bit of white. Then I'll have a little string of flowers come just dipping down in here, little vine. And again, I can just use the corner of my bright brush to make my details. Just lay that color on. The sun catches this, so these are a little bit lighter. And these kind of come down in front of that trunk. Helps give depth into the painting. I'll get myself a little bit more of my cadmium orange out here to work with. Add a little bit more light into these flowers. And these are going to be lighter up here because the sun's coming in from the left, so these will catch the sunlight. There'll be a little bit of lighter in here, not real light, but some of these will catch a little bit more light than. Now, what I do for the centers on these flowers, I use a smaller brush, and I'm taking here, I'm going to get my maul stick. It hangs on the side of my easel to where it's easy to get. This we got at Container Store, and this is actually a hook used for taking clothes off of a high rack. But we got that at Container Store. It hooks over the top of my easel, and it makes a wonderful maul stick that then I can use to brace against, to steady my hand as I do the small details. So I'm going to add centers in these flowers, and this is a mixture of alizarin crimson plus liquid, and I just add the centers, a few little buds going out there. This gives a little definition in my flowers. Clean my brush each time because I want my color to stay good and dark. So I use a lot of tissue. We get the cheapest tissue you can buy. And as Jack would have said, it's not fit for human use. It's rough and tough, but it works perfect for painting. I know probably people look at me kind of funny when I come out of the grocery store with a cart full of 5 or 6 packages of 24 rolls each. They figure probably I have a hotel or a restaurant or have to go to the bathroom a lot. But I just add the centers in these flowers. We'll add a few little buds here. The buds on this trumpet vine are darker than the flowers. Give a little detail up into the shadow area. I just follow the shape in the color. Kind of work around the lighter areas. I'll put a little center in. I'm not following any reference specifically. I've painted trumpet vines so many times that at this point I can pretty well paint it without looking at my reference. But a lot of times I will, just to, remember the shapes of the plant and how it drapes over a building. And all of my paintings are based on reference. I don't make up. I'm not good at that. Add a few more centers over on this side. But you can see how I can just brace against that mahl stick and it makes it real easy. Also, holding your brush at the far end of it away from the bristles gives you more stability. I know that doesn't sound logical, but it works. If you hold the brush up here, you get jiggles and shakes in it, whereas if you hold it at the opposite end on that long, that's why they make the long handles. It gives you more control. And a lot of painting is how you apply brush strokes, how you control your brush. And that's some of the hardest things to learn. It takes time. Now, I'm going to add some of those long tendrils, little vines, dangling down. And add a few more leaves in here and we'll have this trumpet vine finished. So let's add a few little leaves. Need that to be a little bit lighter. Maybe darker there. Okay, let's add some light ones in here. It's a little darker as it goes down. Let's do it a little bit darker so you can see it. There we go. But I can just, even though this is a smaller brush, I can just use that corner to get, I can use a broader stroke or I can use a sharper stroke. Get variations in my leaves. Okay, now we're going to pull down some of those little tendrils. My paint mixed up here. Okay. Ooh, I need to get a new piece of tissue. That one's, don't hold on to it too long. My general rule of thumb is about 2 or 3 wipes and then I throw it away. But I held on to that one way too long. So this is going to come down and it'll eventually come down over the door. It's going to be a red door. This a little bit darker. Okay, this one's going to be darker because it's on the shadow side of the vine. And just have a few that come down. Now these are lighter because they're cascading over more into the light. This one will come down. After I paint all that, I'll go ahead and bring it down further. But that's our trumpet vine. I really appreciate you watching my YouTube videos, and please feel free to ask questions. You can do that in the comments section. I also have a blog that the address is in the description below. It's also on the final frame of my video. And please subscribe. Thank you so much, and you have an absolutely wonderful, wonderful day.